Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Got Will here today. We got one pre-submitted question. Let me go ahead and get that open. Trung, it looks like that's from you, so I'll go ahead and take you off mute while I dig up your question here. Oh no, we have two. Good, good, good. And post this question to everybody. All right, so kind of a broad question here. Please clarify at an overview level how extension data, flow execution extension data, process data, flow data should be used. When it is available, when it is saved or modified, implicit or explicit, which one needs to be passed to a subflow? Not sure I follow the question here exactly. Can you help me maybe, restate your question so I can answer the right question? You able to hear me? Will, can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, you.
Yes.
I didn't realize you were joining these all the time now, Mr. Jared. It's good to have you.
I just want to learn from you.
Oh yeah, well that makes someone. Yeah, Trung, are you able to hear me? I know that you're, like, it shows me you're off mute, but I can't hear anything if you are speaking.
Looks like they're having trouble with the audio connecting.
Okay, real quick, I'll go to Brian then, while we wait for Trung to sort out their audio. Brian, Kim, when we promote our application to production, do the other unbolded user actions go away? Also, is there a way to add user actions to a report regarding a data structure and not a case entity? We made a calendar reminder and have a calendar report and was edited. When we promote our application to production, do the other unbolded user actions go away? I'm not sure what you mean by that question, Brian.
Yeah, so when we we have like the case entities in. Hello?
I'm sorry, your audio broke up for just a sec. Could you restate that?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No worries.
So I don't have any experience promoting our an application to production, so I'm not sure what stays and what doesn't stay.
Okay.
Right now, for our case entities in our dev environment, when we right click on a case entity in our report, we see like change root folder, change state, add data request. Do all of those unbolded user actions disappear when we promote it to production?
No, those are all, some of those are default actions, like change state. That's a default case action that comes with every case. The other ones sound like entity actions, right? Like if you were to look in a configuration folder, so here's a case, this is case test one, right? If I were to switch this to list view, I've got a flow here. I can create these user actions here, right? Yeah, user action flow one. These are just flows. These get attached to projects and these get shipped between environments. So those things accompany, they're just a normal part of your project. It's a special flow behavior who populates the user context when you like right click on a case.
Yeah. How do we only have the user actions that we added get promoted? Or like only have those user actions show when we right click?
Oh, like the custom actions?
Yes, like only have the custom actions.
Then you want to look at these action visibility rules here.
Okay.
This allows you to hide any action. So you like the basic scenario is like, say you're a manager and I'm not, and you create a action, which is like manager review, right? You can hide that from me if I'm not a member of a particular group or vice versa. You can also just use this to hide all the default actions that we show you. And we should have some good docs if you just search for action visibility.
Got it. Okay.
That'll walk you through how to write one of these so that
Mhm.
you can entity action visibility. How do you write those so that you can control what shows in the context menu on right click based on user context?
Got it. Okay. I'll look into that. Thank you. And I had a second question, and I ran out of characters, so it might not make sense when you read it out loud. But right now we have a tab, and then we have like this calendar, and we have like this reminders set up on this calendar.
Okay.
And our user wants to be able to like edit that specific reminder when you click on a specific person, like in the reminder calendar. Okay. So like when we click on somebody, we like on the calendar, like a report shows up and it has like one data line. And I was wondering if we could have a user action that can edit that specific reminder from the calendar.
So you're using a report set to calendar view?
Yeah.
And you're clicking into an item in the calendar and you want an action on that?
Yes.
I think you can. Let me go. Let me just create a new folder here really quick. That should be fine. I don't know that I have a good type to use here, so let me just use whatever. Do I have a case? I'll just create an entity really quick. Sorry, I just need to get something that can have
good.
Data, some data here. Here's an entity test 1.
And does it have to be an entity? Like we're using a data structure.
It shouldn't. No,
Okay.
This is just easy for me to add.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I'm just preferring it here. Like, yeah, no, it shouldn't make a difference. You might need to use you might need to enable actions here on the simple data structure. I can show you that in just a second, but it shouldn't make a difference. So, all right. Okay, now let me add entity user define entity test 1. Boom, boom. So there's an entity there. So I'm gonna create a report. Okay, of that entity test 1. I'm going to add entity name and create it on date. So there's my created on date. I'll add a view for calendar. And on the calendar, I'll put entity name and create it on date. That's fine. So let me run this. Just want to see what it gives me. So I'll switch to calendar. So here's today. Hold on. Let me look at my calendar. Where do I define the date? Calendar view. Okay. Primary calendar view is created on date. Let's try that again. I switch to calendar. No, let me run it. Switch to calendar. Okay, so there's my thing. If I click it, I should be able to right click here. You want an action like this?
Yes.
Yeah, so what you need to do, that's fine. Let me create a simple database structure. So let's assume I have a database structure. What you need to do here, unlike an entity, is enable actions.
Okay.
Select this. Once you have that, you'll get a configuration folder, just like you have for the other things, right? Let me refresh it really quick. Yeah, so there's SDS test 1, right? And now I can do the same thing, add user actions. And then I can get custom right click actions when I right click that row after I've selected into the calendar cell. And then this is just a flow that does whatever you need it to do.
Could you show me that one more time?
How to get the configuration folder to generate?
Yes.
Yeah, so edit your type.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure you're looking at the sort of the root level property view on the side here.
Yeah.
If you're not seeing it, you'll need to kind of click into this label.
Yeah.
And then enable actions needs to be set to true. As soon as that's set to true, you'll get this configuration folder. And then you can define custom actions there.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Okay, yeah, you bet. All right, and I'll go ahead and yeah. So Trung, were you able to get your audio resolved? I see that you're off mute, but I don't hear anything. give you another second there. Here's a question from, let me go ahead, I'm just gonna mark you mute. From Nancy. Hi, I'm creating a file and I can save a file. Let me make sure that this question shows to everyone, just so everyone has it to read. Blah, 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 blah. All right, Nancy, I'm creating a file and I can save as file data, bytes to content, and file name, but I want to save as a file entity. How can I map the information I create as file data to a file entity or file reference entity? You want to, so you have file data. I'm creating a file and I can save as file data.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you creating the file?
I create the file. I can create file data, but I want it as a file reference or reference entity.
Okay. The best way, the simplest way to do this with no sort of trickiness is to have your upload form use file references.
Oh, so it's not coming in via an upload. I'm systematically creating it through a flow.
Okay. Then you're going to need to create a file reference. So I'm gonna, on my other screen, I'm gonna really quickly find how we do this in our support ticketing system today. So bear with me just a second.
Don't we just use load from file data to convert file data to file reference?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
But I know we have a flow that does it on Tirade today. So let me see. Flows. I think load from file data is the name, believe it or not. Load files from file references. That sounds backwards. For each file reference, add item to list. That's wrong. Load file from file references or add files, maybe. Add file references as documents in folder. I'll bring this over here. Okay, so we do this in our support ticketing system today. So attachments from the get email step, they come as a file data array, right? And what we do, so that's what comes in here, right? And the file reference list, what are we for reaching? We're for reaching file references. So we already have a file reference. Hold on, this is not right. What am I doing? Create entity from file reference. So this takes in a reference. Weird. I think Jared's right. There should be.
This is recorded, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, because Jared is not right. Sorry. Load from path or load from file data. This is file reference step. This gives you a file reference. Yeah, actually, it's probably just this step.
Okay.
So this step takes in the file data object and outputs a file reference. And then if you search for reference, you can add file references to folder.
Yeah.
And then you can pass that into the file references array with the folder ID and convert those things if you need to.
Okay. So, and I guess if you can just clarify,
Sure.
like to have something sitting on a case entity is file data versus file reference, the storage of that. Can you re-explain the storage of that?
So, yeah, so your case has a property called like attached files or something?
Right now my case has, well, I've got a couple of things. One, it's not an attached properties, right now I have it as file data.
Right, okay.
But I'm thinking that file data, the way that that's stored isn't the best thing.
Correct. Yeah, so you don't want, what that does is if you have a property on your type and you set it to file data, in fact, if let me just save this and come back out and I'll come to my entity test just as an example, because it saved the same. Let's assume I was going to create a property here called like attached doc, and then its type was going to be file data. It's going to prompt me on the bottom here with this note. So what's going to happen is we're going to create like a serialized, like a blob column on the entity test table. And it will be as large or as small as the attached document is, but it'll be in line.
Yeah.
And right, which is depending on this, it's not a problem at first, but if you're going to get a lot of data added to this table, it is going to impact the query speed because it's going to be querying that large data,
Right.
right? And
So
so,
that's why I wanted to have it as a reference. Yes.
right, exactly. So
Okay.
what you then do, because you're using a case, right,
Uh-huh.
is your case is a folder. A case extends a decisions folder, and a file references is a folder entity,
Yep.
which means it has a folder context.
Yes.
And so then you can look at I don't know if I have any cases anywhere. Oh, great. Yeah. So then what happens is if you were to look at in folder view, you'll see your file reference entities in here,
Mhm.
and it's a better you can only fetch those when you need them,
Yeah.
as opposed to always fetching them when you're fetching the parent structure.
Yes.
Plus, it gives you it makes it very easy for you to build like views of like all files in a folder when you start crafting like custom case views.
Yeah.
You're just adding a report of file reference entities for current folder. And now you have all the file reference entities with actions available for your users to interact with those things
Yes.
very easily. Pulling those off the case, the sort of main case object is doable, but requires too much work. You have to kind of be very thoughtful about it as opposed to just dumping it as an entity into the proper case folder.
Right.
So yeah, those are the big differences.
Cool. Awesome. Okay.
I mean, it is also saved on the file system instead of in the database as well. There's some sort of back end changes there. Not
Yes.
that those aren't really the meaningful bit. It's more the fact that it's not choking, it's not making your case reporting slower by having, these large data fields in line on the main case table.
Right. I don't want them there. Okay. Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. As long as I have that, can find that step.
Okay, wonderful. All right, and then Trung is up next. If you want to unmute.
Yes, sorry about that.
No worries.
My question is the extension data. It's stored on the database, so I assume it should be available everywhere. And the data saved into it would save in the database, so the next time it should be available. But it doesn't seem to do that when I when I use it in the SubFlow. And I didn't understand the process data, where it came
Is it a
from.
save process data step specifically?
It could be.
Okay.
Let's say, let me give you an example. I go to a SubFlow.
Uh-huh.
I call a store procedure to save, and then call a save into the FEE. And then I call another store procedure and do another save
Okay.
into the FEE.
Okay.
But the first save didn't carry forward.
What step are you using to save?
User define and then find my FEE and do a save.
Okay.
Does it just save the data, or I need to save the entire? I just pass in the data that I need to save, not the every data, right?
If you, depending, like you might use like, do we not have a selective update for these? That's unfortunate. I think, yeah. So this is a place where we probably make things too tricky. What you want to do, there's this step. Do we have a generic selective update step now? Sorry, just a second. Let me ask a question. Let me check a question for myself. I don't think we do. I don't know why I think we do. We don't. You need to deal with the whole object here,
Oh, okay.
not just the individual property. And so the bad way to do this is to say build data and map everything in, but that's not ideal because you have a lot of properties to map in.
Right.
So what
Yes.
you want to do is something like this. I'm going to fetch my flow execution extension type, right? Let's assume I'm doing this like you're doing it. I'll find if there's flow execution extension test 1, right? And then what I'm going to do is let's assume, I'm gonna just put a create step here and I'm gonna call this run store procedure, right?
Mhm.
And let's assume that that stored procedure gives me like a single property back here called like, updated revenue, updated revenue earned or something, right?
Yes.
I'll just leave that the same. So I'm in a flow. I have my flow execution extension. I run my stored procedure. It's going to give me something back. Well, what I want to do is I want to tell decisions to take the value of this and update a specific property on my type. So what I'm going to do here is let's assume it brought back, 30,000 or something. And then under the output, I'm going to go to change this from rename to change value. And what this lets me do is find a property I want to override. So I'll come here and I'll expand entity result. And this, I'm just going to use str1. Say this is the revenue earned property on my flow execution extension, and I can pick that. And then what I can do, now that I've done that, is I can not do build data, but I can select the whole object in my flow, and then I can save it. And now what we'll do is we'll fetch it, we'll change the value of one property, save that into the database, and then you can continue on. You
All right.
probably want to think using this pattern. This is this like change value pattern that we're talking about here. And this allows you to, and you could do this for as many properties as you need to, right? Like if, depending on what your stored procedure is coming back, you could do the same thing, where you change value property by property by property here. And then that allows you to just pass the whole object in when you're saving it, and only use these create data steps to update the individual properties that you care about.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Another question is when I go to a subflow, can I assume the extension data because it's saved in the database and specify in the set process folder to use it? Can I assume the data would be there? Or do I
Yes, we do a save there. Yes, correct. Like you're talking about, let me find a setup process folder step. So you're saying if you have a setup process folder step and then you select use extension data, right?
Right.
And then you do like you map here on your extension data.
Yes.
Yes, this step is a automatic save. It saves whatever you pass into here into the database when this step is hit. That's right.
My question is after this example you show me, let's say
Mm-hmm.
on our flow, I go to a subflow. My
Mm-hmm.
question is, I still need to make an input reference to the extension data, or can I
Yes, probably.
assume?
Well,
Oh,
you probably want to pass around like process folder ID here.
mhm.
You want to pass that around so that you can fetch it if you need it to. Now, likely it should be fine in subflows. I like to be more explicit and pass this value into subflows so that you can use it to fetch.
All right, okay, because the data does not. It's not. I assume because the FEE save in the database,
Hmm.
the data should be there everywhere, but it's not. But that probably because my save was
Your save might be overriding it. That's right. Yeah. You might be nulling out data inadvertently if you're saving it incorrectly.
all right. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, anybody else have any other questions for us today? That's the end of the question queue I see currently. Good questions from the group today.
Well, I think Nancy has one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nancy. You're on mute still, Nancy. Just feel free to come off mute and you can ask.
Okay, there. Can you walk through creating a page view off of a case entity folder? I've done it once, I can do it, but I'm struggling to repeat the process.
You want to add a custom case page?
Yes, and kind of
Okay.
how that's set up. So I'll have it to where I want it to where I have a dashboard and I can get to it. I can just click on that folder and it'll open up what I designed as the page.
Yeah, let's just create a quick case here. Boop, 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 doo. Case. Here's our case test 116. And I'll add a property called str1, and then let's save it. Okay, and so let me go ahead and just add a case just so we can see. Here's case. Case, do I have to set it to add? I didn't think I have to do that. Case test 1, edit, show add. Hold on, let's refresh. See if that action's there like I expected it to be. So add case, there's case test 116. And this is our first case and garbage text here. So you're specifically, here's my case, right? I see it in my folder, it's right here, right? And I can click into this and I want to override this view to be something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in your configuration folder, you want to add you want to create a page and you want to create a page or dashboard, name it whatever you want, and then you create it. And then you put whatever you want on this thing, right? I'm not actually going to put anything on it, just a bunch of garbage, right? And then that now shows up. Now, I don't think it's retroactive until a restart occurs. So if I go look at this thing here, oh, it's there. There's case, there's my page 1, and I can see all of that content, right? And if I create a new case, right, it's going to inherit that page context automatically. Just some garbage text there, and then boom, here I am. And then what I can do is 2 things. I can, if I look at list view in my configuration folder, I get my page plus this page data attribute. I can edit this thing and I can change the name and I can change the order, so I can control what the order here. And if I want to hide any of these default views because they don't mean anything to me, then what I can do is create page visibility rules, and that will allow me to hide or show the runtime case or the case view or even the folder view of the case, so that I can only have my page 1 show and really constrain what my users see when they click a case. And then as you start adding comments and assignments and documents into the folder, you start writing reports that are all using 4 current filters.
Yeah.
Or current folder filters. And then everything is just always, every different report is, assignments in current folder, documents in current folder, or file references in current folder, comments in current folder, things of that nature. And then you can quickly create these really data-rich views at the case level based on the contents of the current folder.
And so if you go back to that list view, so would you leave so that page, so if you wanted to have this as a dashboard, like outside of the case view, right? So you'd have a dashboard, and then does this page so you have page data and the page. So as soon as the page data, you would write that to where, like, to get your folder, right? Like to get your current process folder. Would you leave the page view here? Or would you like does this structure always stay like this? So if I created a dashboard and it had, say, this list, right? So I had a report, with those list of those cases, right?
Okay, yeah, understand.
And then I wanted to have a link. So when I clicked on one of those cases from that other dashboard, from a report, it would
Mhm.
it would open that up to that case.
Yeah, I think you're just talking about like, so like here, like if I, let me create like a normal folder here called data. And data is going to be where my cases live, right? I think you're talking about two things. Let me add a case, right? Some garbage text here. And then what I want is I want to create a data. I just want to create a report. I want to create a dashboard to show me all the cases in that folder. So
Mhm.
I create a report. Ooh, I should have done case first or page first. Sorry. I'm going to create a report page. And then I'm going to put a report viewer here. I'll go pick that report I just actually started setting up, but didn't do anything with. Ooh, all current folder. I'm sure it's report one, right? It's probably not. Report one is, nope, it's not. So let me just cancel this and let me just create a report here. I'm going to create a report using my case data type,
Mhm.
right? So add entity user defined, case entity, and I'm going to use case test 1_16. Then what I'm going to do here is use, just put some properties on here. And then what I'm going to do, you'll see I have all three. What I'm
Mhm.
going to do is add a filter, and I'm going to say come to folder filters, and I'm going to, I'm going to do in folders, and I'm going to say for current folder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this I'm going to add this page that I added the report to as a dashboard on my new folder. So I come to data, manage page dashboard, add page dashboard, garbage text. I'm going to pick that page I just created, right? Which is probably here. Right? And then now I have a dashboard of all my cases. And if I left click on I can get a link and I can go into a particular case from the dashboard here, or right click on that and see all the custom actions for that. So there's like the custom page that on the folder where you deploy your cases to, and then the view of each individual case that you can click into.
Okay. I'll watch that back.
Yeah, I know that was fast, but like I think you just want to get clear on what particular level of
Yeah.
if it's in all cases or a particular case. If it's a particular case, you're talking about pages added to the configuration folder for the case. If it's not, it's just normal pages and reports. It's just that you're constructing some kind of some reports and pages and things, knowing that you're going to be putting those cases in a particular folder, and you're going to add that page as a dashboard on that particular folder, which is what we have here.
Yeah, I would want to where that report viewer had all the cases.
Mhm.
But then if I clicked on it, I would then see that case.
See that, like you're looking,
So,
but that isn't that what happens if here? This is me clicking in the case now. Just
but there's
with that
more
empty
than
view.
that. There's more cases than that in that folder.
There's more cases than that in that
So you
folder.
added several cases to that case entity. You
I
added
did, right.
several entities.
I could just remove that filter, right? Like I'm applying a for current folder filter.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
the cases are all over, you don't have to be so restrictive in terms of filtering.
Right. So if you have that, and then if you save that, go and look at that, and then
Mhm.
if you click on, say, that 13 now, and then
Won't be any no behavior change here.
okay.
Well, the only change you would see here is that the breadcrumb would be different because they have different folder locations. That's the only way to tell that they're different. This is an LNL data, and this is just an LNL. So there's no data folder that the first two are saved into because its folder location, the portal is different.
Okay. All right. I'll watch that.
Okay. All right. Anything else from anybody? All righty. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Tomorrow you've got Mr. Rodriguez, and then you have Wilmerink on Thursday. So wonderful.
Yeah, I'm on the PS team. I didn't know that.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Demoted.
I guess so.
All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great day. See ya.